Okay. Hi, good morning. I know last time we got this midterm exam. The exam is somewhat pretty tough. Okay. I asked a few students. They also, almost all of them said it's a pretty tough exam. Okay. But that will not change our class distribution. Okay. We still give a good number of A pluses, A's, and others. Okay. The course, I haven't seen the final, the grade distribution, but I should say, even you get a, suppose 85 is the highest grade, you get 85 or 80, you're very close to A plus, so you should not worry too much. Okay. I cannot give you the grading and also the homework sets back, the midterm back, because we still have one student who, for some medical reason, still postponed the exam with doctor's, approval. So that one, until he finished the exam, then, that time I can distribute the exam back, the graded exam back to the whole class. I think we are discussing with him something like tomorrow, maybe, we'll have exam. If he really can't do it by tomorrow, I think by Thursday we should be able to distribute the exams back to you. Okay. So, but the general information is should not worry about it. Okay. If it's a tough exam, it's tough to the whole class. It will not actually diminish the chance you get a very high grade. Okay. One thing I should say is besides the midterm exam, all the homeworks, everything will count. Okay. You should work hard on the assignments now, because as you can see, we have a few things which counts for the final grade. The assignment, the program assignment counts 10%. Okay. If you think about midterm counts 30%. So these assignments are also a very important part. Okay. And finally, I should mention about the final exam. Okay. Because the final exam is completely out of our control. We cannot decide the time because this is completely decided by the university. The university actually said our final exam is on December 15th evening. Okay. I did get some notice. A few students said they already booked the flight before they know the final exam dates. Some are very far away, like from India. They cannot change the ticket or for something. So if you have substantial difficulty to make December 15th evening final exam, you should inform me earlier, okay, by writing. By writing means email also count, okay. So you should let me know. We may plan to have an exam around if you look at the time, you can see. I think the reading day is December 7th. Okay. We may have exam somewhere around December 7th. Okay. So that means if you really cannot make December 15th exam, you may consider something like, a week earlier. Okay, because we have to think about all the situations. But if you want to take that alternative exam, you have to get a permission. Okay. That means you should have a written notice to me. I will discuss with the TA. We finally decide an alternative time to have this earlier exam. Okay. Any questions regarding our final or even the midterm? Okay. So for your individual cases, you should discuss with me. Okay. So, but that's a general one. Everything actually is written on this web page. So you should look at all the web pages, see what we are going to cover, what are the deadlines. Remember, all the deadlines are pretty firm. You should watch it very carefully. So that's about the exams, including our midterm exam. You should know, we will, try to distribute back to you as soon as possible. Okay. Now last lecture, yes? Okay. The midterm solutions. Okay. The midterm solutions likely, okay, it may or may not be officially released on the web, but we will discuss in class. Simply says, for any difficult problems, I will give you a solution using the slides. But slides may or may not be published to the web. Everybody can access. I probably can publish it in Piazza. The reason is, anything on the web, it will circulate very, very quickly. Some actually involved in the Coursera courses. Okay, we made it public. If some Coursera students, they just get it somewhere, they may just do it. They may save it for the future generations to come. So we do not want to publish in a very wide open way. Okay, but we are going to discuss the solutions in the class. Okay, so about this mining, last time we said this part, even we covered part in the lecture, we did not put in the midterm exam, but we may put this in the final, right? So the problem is we already studied mining frequent patterns, like all different kinds. But we said if you get a very long patterns, which actually could, in practice, you may encounter it in, for example, mining some software bugs. You may want to watch a pretty long execution sequence and then find bugs. Or mining DNA or protein, these long sequences. That's also, in reality, you will find those things. Even you may not find very big transactions in big frequent patterns in a very large transaction database. What we said is anything you want to mine, for example, even you just want to mine a single pattern like from A1 to A100. If this one is frequent, if you go step by step, say frequent 1, frequent 2, frequent 50 to frequent 100, in the middle you will encounter a combinatorial explosion. Okay? So there's no way you use previous method to try to find frequent 1, frequent 2. You can go up to frequent 100 because in the middle it's already got 2 to the power 100 patterns. So what we say is we want to mine very large ones, but we cannot go step by step. We have to think about some other ways. Then I got this student, Feda, he actually got one very interesting paper actually awarded by a conference. Okay. What he did is he first worked out a pattern by himself, just watching this. Okay, is this. You can work out this length 1 through 40 by just generating all the things 40 times from 1 to 40, this kind of string. Okay. And what he did is he took a diagonal, he just chopped 1 by 1. The first one chopped 1, the second one chopped 2, the third one chopped 3 in that way. Okay. The last one, 40, just chopped 40. Okay. He made up this pretty long transaction database. Okay. Then he added another 20 patterns, which is exactly repeating from 41 to 79, okay, no matter how long it is. Okay. So this one actually is the length of 39. Okay. The others is length, definitely everybody length is 39, but you cannot find it repeated 39 times. Okay. So he said there's frequent pattern is 41 to 79 size 39. So that's very clear because size 39, the support is 20. Okay. Then he just set up support as sigma, the minimum support is 20. Then this one definitely will show up. Okay, everybody knows because he made it. Okay, but in the middle here, if you want to find size 20, you will find there are so many. How many they have? Actually, you can see is the number of even you say maximum or closed. All these things you consider the size 20 pattern inside this part is still 40 pickup 20. 40 pickup 20 means you actually have the length is somehow closer to 20, but for example, close to 39, but it's not exactly 39. But you have that many patterns satisfy this minimum support. And that number is, if you compute it, is a very big number. Simply says, if you say minimum support is 20, you really encounter in the middle, you encounter combinatory explosion because you get a 40 pick with 20, that many patterns will show up. Then suppose you say, I don't want to mine these, these 20s because it's exponential. But I know there's one like 39s here. There's only one such pattern will show up, 39. If you really, calculate that. There's only one such pattern. It's very long, but because of these 40 transactions mixed in the middle, so if you set a minimum support is 20, you will not be able to find it because the medium-sized pattern already explosion. The long pattern, like size 39, there's only one, but it's hiding in this explosive set. So that's actually quite possible if you think in your mining. For example, you want to mine very long DNA sequences or protein sequences. Maybe this long one has only one such pattern, which is frequent, it's important. Other people got some kind of cancer, may got this pattern. Okay. But if you want to mine this long pattern, in the middle, you find that there are exponential number of other patterns already swamp you. You will have no way to find this one. Right? That means the long pattern was masked by the exponential number of medium-sized patterns. Okay, like this. This is just to give you an example. There's no existing algorithm like epi-close LCM actually can finish because it's just exploding in the middle. Okay. So what he got, the idea is this. Okay. I know there is a big pattern, but the big pattern, very big pattern, okay, it's a small number, but you have no way to know where it is. Okay. But if you go step by step, you jump into the big swamp. You'll never get out because it's combinatorial. Okay. So what we thought about an interesting method is this. Whether we, by mining the smaller patterns, we get a hint. Some pattern we need to jump out to find those candidates in a very quick way without getting into this huge combinatorial swamp. That means we must have a way to jump out of the swamp by some stepping stones. But where are the stepping stones? Those are the key problems. But actually, step stones are those smaller patterns. They probably have indication there's a long one, very big one, in a very far outside, out of this swamp. Okay. If you have those step stones, you just go, instead of swimming or try to find a whole swamp, you actually use those step stones, you actually quickly jump out of it. Then you get into the smaller number of big patterns. Okay. That's the idea. But how we can find these smaller number of very big patterns, how can we get a hint what they are, where we can find them? Actually, the hint is not that hard to get because I'll give you an example. If you look at this one, okay, suppose we do have several patterns like this. Okay, we have A1 to A50, you get 40 such thing. Okay, so A3 to A99, in that way, you can see that they're jumping 3, 6, or something to 99. Every time you go up 3, you get 60. And this one is 5, 10, jumping every time jumping 5, you get 80. And you get a 10, 20, 100. You really get a 100 such pattern. You can see. You can make up such several patterns. This one has a support 40, this one has 60, this one has 80, this has 100. You mix them up, okay? That means you have lots of transactions. They do contain such patterns. But how can you get a hint? Those are the patterns. If you think about this, the interesting thing is, suppose you have a very large pattern, like A1 through A100. Their support is 50. Suppose you think about this. Okay. And then you start chopping them. You say, I do not really know. But in this very big database, there must be something support is something close to 40. But there are many of them. Okay. Because you get this big one, support is 40. If you think about their support is for 40, there must be some subsets. Okay, if you mind, say, even just have 3, then 3, then 6, there are many such patterns. They may have something not too far away from 40. Think about it, because I mean, if your support like this one is 40, okay, you think about in your big transaction, you mine a smaller pattern. There must be lots of things closer to 40. Maybe a little, like 45, 50 or something, not too far away from 40, right? And those things actually give you the hint. If you combine them, merge them, you will be able to have a hint. There must be something pretty large. They have 40. Then you try to find something not too far away from 40. Then you can combine them again. Then you merge them, jump, high, you are going to find those candidates. Right? You will be able to find something closer to this. That's the general philosophy. Okay? That means you may find something like this. If you check your database, you might say frequent 3. You may find something like this, is closer to 40. Something like this, also closer to 40. If they are closer to 40, of course, in principle, should be more than 40. But it's closer to 40, then you can start saying, what about these close to 40 things? I merge them together. I mine them. I go back to my database. I may find bigger ones, also closer to 40. So finally, I can quickly find that there is one pattern, A1 to A50. Their support is something like 40. Right? You think of this. This idea actually leads him to derive a notion called core pattern. Core pattern means those are the very good indicator. Okay, those are chopped things. You put it down there. It's a good indicator. Actually, there is a pattern. Bigger ones. This is just fractions of the bigger ones. Okay. But those are the core, good indicator to say if I merge them, some larger pattern will show up. Okay. This is, last time I said it. If you go down to the to the forensic, those people, try to capture those criminals. Okay. The criminal may only leave some very fraction of their DNA on the cigarettes or on the knife or something. So, but if you take those piecemeal, you put them together, you may be able to identify this, the bigger pattern. Likely only, very few people may have this pattern. And you finally can identify this criminal. So that's why you can think about there must be some pattern of the indicators. Actually, the core pattern means if you get a very big pattern, suppose this pattern is alpha, okay, then there must be many such cores. They actually show up, have a little similar support. Okay, not too far away, this support. Then those things, okay, could be the things you find there are so many very similar support, you start merging them, the higher pattern, the bigger pattern will show up. Okay. And you always can go back to the database to check whether they do have such support, such patterns. Okay. That means if you randomly draw from a complete set of patterns in your current one, likely you will find many core patterns. And those core patterns, you can merge them. The bigger pattern immediately may show up. Okay. So that's what the philosophy. And he basically say, how do you find the core patterns? You may say, suppose you get some sub-pattern, alpha, beta. Okay. You may find that this bigger one, this alpha, you have many small fragments there, beta. Actually, their support should be greater and bigger than a threshold. Usually, threshold maybe 0.6 or 0.9 or something. That means actually their support difference is not too far away. That means those beta, those kind of patterns are the core pattern. Like those patterns, you can merge them. You will be able to find hints for the bigger ones. Yes. Okay. You mean the previous slides, right? This one. Okay. Actually, this one is their support. This is in your data set. You know, you want to find their frequency. Okay. This we basically say is their support. Okay. It's when you mine the database. Remember, you get a big transaction database. You say how many things contain this, how many times this contain Coke, how many can contain milk. Those are support. Okay. So actually, that means this D is your database, your transaction database. You can think it that way. Okay. And this alpha and a beta are the patterns. Alpha is a bigger colossal pattern. It's a bigger candidate you want to find. Okay. This beta is the one. It's a smaller. It's a sub pattern. Okay. And what you want to find is something you compare them. It should be greater than the threshold. The threshold could be 0.5, 0.8, or something. At the beginning, you may set a threshold a little lower, but later you can set it even higher. Okay, whatever. Usually, you will find there are lots of such patterns because if you randomly chop them, you put them down to the swamp, these things will show up. This thing, you think about, if you really have a pattern, okay, from A1 to A100, then if you think you want to find a pattern, it's a subset. You randomly chop them as a subset. You throw them into the farm. Actually, in your database, you try to find those sub-pattern support. They should have a similar support. Because if this one happens 50 times, you will see those small things, small fragments, no matter what kind of fragments, in your database, they will show something closer to 50. Okay. It will be there. Right? So that's the general philosophy. What he basically proved, this pattern actually is very popular. You are going, if they do existing in your database, you will be able to find the hint very easily because they share similar support. Okay. Then with those similar support, when you just merge them boldly, okay, then you try to go back to the database, check again, those longer patterns will show up. Okay. And they should have similar support as well. Then you can keep jumping. You know, that means your step stone at the very beginning is a little small step. In the later one, you go higher and higher. These step stone could be pretty far apart. You get size 20, the other one size 15 or something. You merge them, you immediately jump into something like size 30 or 35. Okay. So you can jump them very quickly. Then you can see you can jump towards the very big pattern without going through the whole swamp, because the whole swamp is combinatorial explosion. Okay. So he basically used this method. That means if you do a random draw in your pattern space, you will almost always hit this big ball with high probability. He actually proved this. The chance to hit those things is very high. Instead of your random guess could fail. Actually, this random combination, the success rate is very high. Okay. So he basically using this, developed his algorithm. The algorithm called pattern fusion. That means you find those core patterns, instead we go step by step, one by one. You just say fuse them. This size 10, this size 15. You fuse them, you may get size 20 or 25 or something like that. Okay. Then you go back to your database, test again. You may find your candidate very likely to be true there. Of course, some will fail. Okay. I mean, some fusion may not be always successful, but a lot of fusion actually could be successful. You find those similar support pattern again. Okay, then you can boldly going pretty quickly, you will reach a very big one. So that's a philosophy. Yes? Yeah, he did the experiments. He just say, suppose you start, first is the mine 1, 2, 3. Finding 3, you will not explode because it's pretty small. That's like what I said, your share fragments size 4 is still pretty manageable. You start with like size 3. Okay. That means you find a pattern size 3. Then you look at their support, some support are very close. Then you start merging them. Okay. That means you, at every iteration, you try to find K seed patterns. That means you try to find the seeds. Okay. Those seed patterns basically follow those, they have similar support. Okay. You think they may be indicator of some very large patterns outside. Okay. Then you can randomly pick them from the current pattern pool. And for every seed pattern picked, you try to find all the patterns within a bounding ball centered at the seed pattern. That means you take this seed, you find those surrounding things, you can make this one bigger. Okay. Bounding ball means they have similar support, they have not a complete overlap with you, then you can think that this thing is surrounding you. You can grow. Okay. That means all the bounding ball within this bounding ball, you find all the patterns. And these patterns found can be fused together, generate super patterns. Then the super pattern, you will go to your database to test those super patterns. If they are really frequent, and you can say those are another round of candidates. And then you can do this again and again. Then you can, that's a way. You don't have to find all the patterns. You can start jumping, okay? Because you are fusing this, patterns into a much larger one. Okay? So that means generate this one from the new pool for the next iteration. Then you can go back again. So this is, if you think about array, those kind of things. Every time they grow by one. They say, oh, these things are so similar, I put them together because the only difference is one, then they merge them, they find a candidate. So every iteration, they only grow by one. And here is you merge them into a much bigger one. Okay? So that's a difference. But that's a difference you don't have to worry about finding all the patterns. You're jumping out of this huge swamp. Okay? The termination condition is when the current pool contains no more than K patterns at the beginning of any iteration. That means you finally cannot find a good candidate. Then you because you almost find all of them. So based on his experiments, you probably can see he really used those very large, gene, this leukemia is a cancer. Okay, he just used those from the Broad Institute, which is a MIT, Harvard, they're doing bioinformatics. He took their data. He just want to find very big patterns, and he already know their pattern, what are the big ones, how many they are. And he just used his method going down to the data set and try to mine them. And he basically find very close to the complete set. That means this method doesn't guarantee you'll find everyone because you merge them, sometimes you merge too big. Okay, that means you actually, for example, sometimes because there are so many patents intertwined, you merge them too big, you go a little astray. Some patent may be missing. Usually, the very, very large ones, like here, you almost find all of them. But something not the very, very large ones, okay, like a size 80, 84, 83, you may miss some patents because you are trying to find a very large one, but you merge it too radical, you may miss some. So that means you can never guarantee this one will find all the patents. But the chance to find a bigger patent is very big. But the chance to find a medium patent is very small because medium is exponential. You will not be able to find all of them. So you are jumping out of them, right? You're skipping some. And he shows his mining time is substantially smaller compared to all the other methods that he tried to work out. Because the others hit the wall of the company or explode, and he does not hit it. Of course, I cannot say this is the final story. Okay? I remember when I introduced this method a few years ago, one student, he actually tried to find a new method. And he worked out almost one semester. He worked out a method. He thinks he can do a little more improvement. And to his surprise, he tried to send to the conference. He found another group actually almost found the same method and published. And he finally could not publish the method. But that simply says, this method still can be improved by some rather sophisticated way. But anyway, you probably can see this is one very interesting study, and it got the best paper award from the conference. So now we discussed about finding very large patents. Now I'm going to introduce to you another very important frontier is sequential patent mining. Okay. Remember, the previous we studied are the transactions. We just finding, for example, you get milk and butter or nuts together. You don't look at their shopping sequences. And in the shopping basket, there's no sequence. You never say milk is in front of the cigarettes or in front of wine. So there's no such order. Right? But in the real purchase, for example, suppose you are customers of Amazon.com. Okay. Your purchase history, actually, everybody's purchase history is stored there. In many cases, you may like it to be stored there because you will say, oh, I remember something I bought 6 months ago. I think it's very good. I want to buy it again. Okay, then you can find your history, and you may click the button, you get it again. Okay. So those shopping transaction sequences contain very valuable information people want to use. For example, like Amazon may give you some ads. Say you bought this one, maybe several months ago I give you another ad, say the similar products, I give you some sales. Right? So this customer shopping sequences become very useful. Actually, it's not just the customer shopping sequence. For example, you look at the medical treatments. Okay. You give drugs, and your body may develop some resistance or something. Then you may need another drug or something. There's always a sequence. Okay. Like disasters, you may get a sequence. What kind of thing may imply a big earthquake? You may find those sequences. And for stocks, you definitely want to watch the sequences. Any experiments, like scientific, engineering process is a sequence. So the sequential pattern is very useful. Like you go to those internet companies. They actually study web click streams. Those are sequences. Okay. Like I got one PhD, she's working at Google. She actually says what they really mind the sequence. Say, people click this button. Usually, the Google will pay those companies who put the ads. If they find the clicks, the company will pay Google. Okay, that's their major revenue. But in many cases, you click, you may not buy. You click this, you may not have any transaction. You will just watch it, you never buy it. Okay. So what she did is she actually watched the sequence in Google. Of course, you can get lots of data. And she found actually that these are the people who really buy. They not only click it, they actually really buy. And she actually set different values. That means you click, the company will pay a little money. You can give a reduced rate. But if you really buy it, the company should pay Google a little more, right? Because Google is effective. You put it there, they will buy. Okay. And she found those different situations. She set up different rates. Okay. And she got this mining very effective. And actually, she told me after they changed this policy, Google did not reduce their revenue. They actually, based on the monthly report, Google's revenue by just kind of clicking with this improvement got more than $20 million a month. So then she actually got a very big raise because she got this smart charging philosophy, right? And those companies also like it because they really want to, Google put on the ads, they really buy it. Right? So those are the, transaction, I should say, sequence data mining. Now we look at how we mine the sequences because the data is so huge. Right? So first, we want to define what are the sequential patterns. Those are the patterns usually corresponding to the transactions in the commercial things as well. So you can think this is like Amazon.com. You can think this way. You can think this is one customer. The customer first buys A in one transaction. Then he buys A, B, C together. Okay. Then got AC, then got D, then got C, F together. This parenthesis means actually this thing bought in the same transaction. That means you buy A, B, C together. Okay. And this one is you buy C, F together. So this is one customer, okay, one sequence. Then you get this is another customer, this is third customer, this is fourth customer. You get this sequence data. What we may want to find is this. Okay. You may want to find something, for example, if you just watch this, you say, I may want to find something like this. Okay. People buy A, B together, then buy C. The chance actually is pretty high because it's very frequent. Like here, you can see, this is A, B together, then get C. This is A, B together, and get C. What's the difference from other definition is I don't care the gap. You can think about this, okay? This customer at Amazon, he first bought A, B together, then bought D, F together, then bought C. Okay. But this one says I bought A, B, C together, then I got A, C together. But this one has a gap. But for sequence database, they don't care this. Think about this. Okay, somebody may go to Amazon, buy things every day. Some people may buy, every week, or even more rare. But if you say he first bought an iPhone and then bought a charger, okay, so within certain time frame, they don't care in the middle what you bought, okay, because in the middle you may buy many things, or some people say I buy nothing, but the other people may say I buy it every day. Okay, so that means the gap is not essential. What they want to see is the first something, then something. In the middle, you may immediately the next one, or you may wait for quite a few days or a few months you buy it. That still counts as sequential pattern. So that's the difference from the DNA sequence. The DNA sequence, the gap does count. Okay, you get an A, the other time you get a T. In the middle, you have lots of things that means something very different. Okay, so that's different from protein, from the bio sequences. Okay, bio sequence, they don't count. They do count, anything in the middle implies something different. Okay. So if we have this, what our definition is, everything here is item. Okay. This parenthesis means it's a transaction bought at the same time. Okay. And those not in the parenthesis means they do have time. That means the first you get an EF, then you get an AB, So the definition is very clear. Then subsequence means anything is a subset of this. It's a subsequence. Okay, like you can think about it. You cut off CF, that's a still subsequence. You take something in the middle, it's still a subsequence. There are many, many subsequences, right? Now the problem is, can we find a very efficient, very scalable algorithm to find all the subsequences, frequent, okay, they are important, they are frequent, above certain support threshold. Maybe I say 10% is support threshold. That means you go through that, you find all these subsequences whose support or frequency is 10% or over among all the transactions. That's the same thing as our transaction database, but now it's a sequence database. Okay. So that means we want to find efficient, scalable algorithms, finding the complete set. And of course, somebody says, I don't need a complete set. Okay. But if you have an algorithm can find a complete set, you always can put all the constraints, all the different thresholds, all the things, you will find their subsets. Okay. Which, if you can guarantee you can find a complete one, you have much more freedom to find a valuable subsets. Right? The interesting thing is we studied the a priori algorithm for finding in transaction database finding frequent patterns. Now, if you want to find sequential pattern, frequent subsequences, okay, this property still holds. It's still valid. Okay. Why? You can think about this. The a priori property in this context, you can say, if a subsequence S sub 1 is infrequent, then none of this S1 supersequence can be frequent. Is that true? Suppose you say frequent 20 times is frequent. Okay. If you find a subsequence S1 is infrequent, that means it's below 20. Okay. Then any of its superset will be infrequent as well. Right? It's more like if you say, I first buy iPhone, then suppose I buy a product like Android. Okay. Then finally you find this not as frequent. Then, any superset. You say first buy iPhone, then buy Android phone, then buy some other things. Actually, it's infrequent as well, okay, because this two already infrequent. Then any superset will be infrequent. So this is obvious. Okay. But this will be very useful. Serve as a knife you can cut. So I'm going to, in a very similar way, introduce you three algorithms. One is done by IBM, the Steer Rakesh Agrawal, okay, and he got an algorithm called GSP, Generalized Sequential Pattern. Okay, that algorithm I'm going to introduce you first. Then I'm going to introduce you Zaki's vertical format one. Then you introduce ours, the prefix span one. And it also introduced a closed pattern one, still by EM. Okay. So these several authors are very interesting. They are all the same set of authors working on from the frequent pattern to the sequential pattern. Okay. It happens, if you want to see Rakesh Agrawal, actually next Tuesday, he will be giving a keynote speech in Indy, okay, in CIKM conference. Actually, on Monday, I'm going to give a tutorial in the same conference. But I will drive back actually on the same day. I still have a class on Tuesday. But Tuesday morning, he's going to go to give a keynote. And it's a big data, those conferences. This year is in it's pretty close. If you want to see him, you can drive down there. Okay. That's his algorithm. Okay. So I'm going to introduce you almost in a symmetrical way, okay? Introduce you all these for a sequential pattern. But since you already know frequent pattern, you already got a midterm, so I think that the introduction should be somewhat easier. Okay? Let's first look at IBM, Rakesh Agrawal's algorithm. Okay? The algorithm, we still take this one as our sample data set. It's very small. You can see there are only 5 transactions, okay, and 5 sequences. All these are the sequence. The parentheses, if you don't like parentheses, you can think this is actually curly brackets. It's a set. Just happen in the same transaction, that whole thing. Okay. But all the others, order does matter. Okay, like you first get BD, then you get a C, and then get a B, and get AC. That's what you're shopping for. Okay. Then how do you want to find all the sequential patterns? Their methodology, you probably can derive it by yourself if you know the a priori. Now they're just doing the same trick. What they do is they say, first find frequent 1. Frequent 1, of course, there's no sequence. 1, there's no first, then something, second. So you find, suppose you find A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. You look at what's a support, like A happens 3 times. Y happens 3 times. Here you get A. Here you get A. Here I get A. Remember, okay, here you get 2 A's. But we don't care, because if it happens in this sequence, in this customer shopping sequence, you just say it's there. You just count as 1. Okay. So in that sense, you get A, and A. You get 3 times. Even the real A bought more than 3 times, okay, because you yourself may like A so much you keep buying it. Okay. But we don't care. We just say how many sequences A appears? 3. That's why you get 3 A's, you get 5 B's. Suppose you say 2 is frequent, you can see. Here, you get A, B, C, D, E, F. They are all 2 or above. But you get a G and H. You look at the G happens here. H happens here. It's only 1 time. So forget it. Okay, this is not a frequent, because if you set a bar as 2, okay, these 2 are infrequent. They are gone. Why they are gone? Because you know if G is not frequent, G team up with any others before or after is still infrequent. And let them go, right? Because G only appear once. How could it team with others appear more than once, right? So you cut infrequent ones, then you can form candidate sets. This candidate is more complicated because you may have A, then you get a B, or you have A, then you get C, but you also can have C, then you get A, right? The order actually almost double your count. So what you can see here is this. If you have A, B, C, D, E, F as a frequent single item, their candidate sequence can have 6 times 6, you get 36. You can see this. Why? Here, A does count, because you may first buy A, later you buy A again. Okay. Suppose you like some kind of thing, like in the store, like in Amazon, you like this. Here you buy A, later after a few months you say I want to get A again. So you can see you have A then A, it still counts, right? Then you have A then B, you have A then C, you get this as a candidate. Then here you may have B, you get A, B, you get B. You actually can see you get a lot of things. Okay. So these are the candidates. Okay. So here it's not over yet, because you have to think about something bought together. Okay. At the same time you have to think about it. Then what you see is this. Okay. You got A, B in the same transaction, you have to count it. AC in the same transaction, bought together, you still count it. Okay, you can see here you still get so many, you still count. So how many? Here you probably can see this is 5 times 4 divided by 2, you get 10 or something like this. Okay. Here you get 36. So even for length 2, the size of 2, you get 36 plus 10, you get 46 candidates, right? For single one, you get only 6. But for size 2, for the sequence of size 2, you actually get 46 candidates. That's a lot. But what do? You take this, you go back and check it. You get the number. AA, how many times? Okay. AB how many times, AB together how many times, you have to get their number. Then you will find anything which is below 2, okay, you will cut them. Then you can go higher and higher. You can go size 3, size 4. Okay, so that's the way to go. You will find everything. Okay. But this actually is somewhat expensive. You think about this. It's more expensive than the transactions because transactions you don't care the order, and sequence you do. You care A, B, B, A, they are different. A, B together is also different. But you get a very painful thing, you go to the lens 2. But later you will be a little happier because from lens 2 to go to lens 3, your knife becomes more effective. Why? You still operate, right? You can think about this. Suppose you got AF, but you want to get a ABF. What you need to have is you want to get ABF, these three to be frequent. Okay. Then AF must be frequent. BF must be frequent. You know, you get all the three stuffs, ABF. You have AB, AF, BF, all the three frequent, you will say there's a candidate ABF. Otherwise, I won't get this candidate. Right? That's the same thing as the others, right? So that means start from lens 3, you will be a little happier because you start using your knife more effectively. You will cut something. Then lens 4, lens 5, okay, you can cut more and more. You go up, you will find all the candidates. Okay. You can see is for the first scan, you get 8 candidates, lens 1. Okay. Then second scan, you get that many. Actually, this is just based on the previous database. You can find this. Third scan, you get this. The fourth scan, you get this. The fifth scan, you only get one candidate. Yes. Okay. Yeah, the question is whether you can make the pattern fusion if you want to find very large sequences. You are quite right. Okay. I believe there is some research done. You can go to Google, you can search it. That means once we got this finding colossal patterns for transaction database, there's some study. I just remember, I could not remember the concrete name. Some people actually study finding the colossal, very large, long sequence. There are some studies. They may use similar philosophy. You can check the paper. This is a very good question. Okay. But remember, that requirement is not to try to find all the patterns. This algorithm is trying to find all of them. Okay, that's a difference. Once you say colossal, you start jumping. Jumping means in the middle of those swamps, you basically don't find them. You miss a lot of medium-sized patterns. Okay. This one is you don't miss anything. You just keep going. Okay. So that's their algorithm. The algorithm is very much similar to a priori algorithm. They call this one is a GSP, generalized sequential pattern. But you know this is not cheap, right? You think about this. You have to find all the sequences. The candidates, actually, if it's dense, the candidates grow very quickly. You get a very large candidate set. So it's not so cheap. Okay. Then we get into another algorithm. This algorithm actually is done by Mohammed Zaki. And he actually used the exactly the same philosophy as his mining transaction database. Now we go to the sequence database. What he did is this. Okay. He just said this is still the same sequence database as the Red Cache Agora got. Okay. What he did is he said, instead of I think this one is in this format, I will take every element to see where they are. Okay. So suppose I want to, this one I can rewrite in this way. Okay. I say this is sequence ID 1. This first one is element ID 1. Okay. There's only one item A I write on here. Okay. Then the second one is sequence ID 1. The element ID is 2. And it contains ABC. I write on ABC. Okay. Then I got sequence ID 1, element ID 3. I got two things AC. He first reinterpret this one in this way. Okay. Then what he did is try to reverse it. Now I'm going to say, where are the A's? Where are the B's? Okay, you can see. Where are the A's? You just grab all the A's. Okay. Sequence ID 1, element ID 1, there's an A. Sequence ID 1, element ID 2, there's still an A. Sequence 1, element 3, there's still an A. And he wrote down all the A's. Anything happens, A is there, he just write it down. Okay. Anything happens, B is there, he just write down there. Sequence ID and element ID. What he's going to do? He's going to merge them. Okay. And you can see here, if you want to find AB, what I need to know is AB must have the same sequence here, because same sequence our count as 1, right? But they may have ID, this element, ID 1, should be, the other one should be bigger, because you first A, then B, right? So anything bigger, it should be there. You can see here, this is 1, this is 2, this one counts. This one, this is 3, it counts. Okay. But if you have a 2, 2, it doesn't count AB, because it's AB together. Okay. If you have a 3, 2, it doesn't count, because I want first A, then B. Right? So you can see he can start doing this kind of join. The join condition is this sequence ID must be the same. This element ID must be smaller. Okay. That means later one should be bigger. The front one should be smaller. You join these two, you will get this. You get all the join results. And here, the join results just reversed. Okay. Because the B should be smaller than A. So you get this. Right. You can see this is the same kind of join. And anything which is infrequent, for example, you say it must be 2. Anything less than 2 is gone. Okay. Then you can keep going. Then here, if you can see, if you want to get ABA, you just merge these two. You have ABBA, you want to find ABA, that means ABBA merged together. You just join this one in the same rule, you join that, so you can keep going. This is what he got algorithm called spade. Spade algorithm, just the idea basically is you transpose this one from originally you take sequence as a major, now you take every item as a major. Then you just put their sequence ID, like sequence ID, element ID there, then you just merge them, join them in a way. Then you can find everything. So that's another algorithm. Then it comes to our turn. We don't like the previous algorithm, even they got a very high citation. Okay. Then after we publish our FP growth, we also, in the same way, we say, now we work on the sequence database. This one, I give you the journal version is 2004. Actually, the conference version, shorter version, is published in 2001. Actually, if you look at these, it's almost a year by year. Okay. This one was published in 1996, I think. This one was published in year 2000, okay, and ours published in year 2001. Okay. Basically, it's every one we start competing with the previous algorithm. And what is our take? What is our idea to get this algorithm? Actually, the finally happened, this algorithm is most popularly used. And almost everybody loves this algorithm. And it's very simple. Okay. The philosophy is the exact same as we did. We just do not have FP tree anymore. We don't do the tree. We do the sequence. We do projection. What we did is this. Okay. We are thinking about any element. Remember, in the past, we say we get a tree, all the things in front of it, above it is frequent with me, come with me. Okay. Now we cannot change any order. Okay. we just follow the sequence order. If you say ABC, AC, D, C, F like this, what we are thinking about is this one actually has, if you take A in the front, all the remaining part is just go with me. You say, this is A, anything later, or you can think as A's projection is here. For this particular sequence, the first one, sequence ID 10. If you take A here, the remaining part, okay, you can think is go with me, because you first buy A, then that's the remaining things you are going to buy. Okay. So we put A here, the remaining is here. What about we put AA here? You can see this is AA here. We put A, then you buy A, then that's the remaining part. We leave a space, simply says this part is going same time as BC. Okay. We put it here. But what about AB? Okay. If you say first buy A, then B, we say the remaining part is this part. Go with me. Okay. That means we introduce, you grab one item. Okay. The remaining part is the remaining sequence. You go with me. We do projection. Okay. So if this one, we call this is our prefix, and this is our suffix. That's just exactly the same thing as you can imagine. You have prefix, you have suffix. Okay. Suffix essentially is the projection of the prefix. Once you have this, then we are going to do similar game, but in very simple game. We do not check their combinatorial explosion. Like we don't check all the, what's the chance A will combine with B? A, B, B, A, B together. All those things. You have to consider every pair. That's a lot. Okay. But we are thinking about, if you want to find at the very beginning, you still find frequent one, single item, like A, B, C, D, E, F. G and H are gone. Okay. Then you take this, you are going to do surgery. What are you going to do surgery? We do similar ideas as P grows. What do we do is we say, take A, we want to find A's projected data. That means we are partitioning the database. The original database is there. We say, now I don't look at the whole database anymore. If A is frequent, anything later, come with me. Okay. Then if B is frequent, anything later than my B, come with me. Okay. So this is very much like when you review it, you say, we said about this parallel projection. This is the same as our parallel projection. Okay. If you understand in your midterm review, you say, what is parallel projection? That's almost same as parallel projection. Okay. You can think about it. If we find A, we got A's projected database, go with me. We find B, B's projected database, go with me. Then the whole database is gone. What do you have? Just those projected databases. We mine everyone recursively, then we're done. Very simple algorithm. And it's very efficient as well. Okay. Now I'm going to show you what we are doing. It becomes pretty easy, pretty simple algorithm, but it's very efficient. Okay. Look at this. Suppose we got this one. We got length 1 sequential patterns A, B, C, D, E, F. Now what we do, we just say, we partition them now. Parallel projection. A's projected database, go with A. B's projected database, go with B. You can see, we just do it once. See, here is A. A's projected database here for the first sequence. The second sequence contains A. This A's projected database is this part. Okay. Then 30, watch this. Okay, this A is right in the middle. Remember, if A is right in the middle, anything in front of A, we don't care. Okay. We only see anything after it. Is that good? Do we miss anything E and F? We don't, because E, that one will be in E's projected database. We don't miss it. Okay. We don't miss anything. Okay. You can see this A is here. This A's postfix. Okay. Suffix, you can see. It's there. Then here's A. A's suffix is here. You can see that's done. Okay. Then what do you do? You look at here, say which one is frequent. Suppose you find this A is frequent because you can see A appear twice. A is frequent, then you get AA's projected. You do it recursively going down. Then you find everything. Okay. Is that simple? It's a very simple algorithm. It's simpler than GSP. Okay. And it's very efficient. Okay. But you may say it's very efficient, I doubt it. Because you do the parallel projection, you generate so many projected databases. Is that going to be very efficient? We have one more trick. Okay. Some people, I remember there was one famous professor in Korea in KAIST, or in National Seoul, I think. He later sent me an email. He said, I follow your algorithm, it's not efficient. Okay. How could you claim your algorithm is so efficient? We tried it, it's not. Okay. I said, you only read half of the paper, you did not read the other half. You already started thinking you understand everything. We have one important trick. It's in the paper, but you may not get a chance to read it. That's why your implementation is wrong. There's one important trick we called pseudo projection. Okay. What they did is they follow our graph, they do real projection. But we have another trick we call pseudo projection. They do not do pseudo projection, they do the real projection. That's why it generates so big data sets. What is pseudo projection? You look at this. Actually, that means we have a little cheating. We do not really do the projection, do the physical projection. What the projection we did is we just put a pointer there. Say, these are the remaining ones. We just put this guy's pointer point there. Say, all the remaining ones will count. We do not really project the whole database and generate a new database. What they did is they generated a new database. They found the database grow so big. Our database did not grow. They grow so big. That's the difference. So you can see what is pseudo projection. That means the principle, we know it. But once we do the projection for very large database, in many cases, we don't do it. What we did, we just insert a pointer there. Okay, you can see this. Here, we say project on A. In principle, you can generate another big database. If this one is a gigabytes, you generate another gigabytes. You generate another gigabytes. That's very expensive, right? What we did is this, okay? Say, if you say A's project database on the location 2, on this ID, suppose this ID is S. Okay. We do not really write down anything except we say this as the position now, we shift it down 2. That means we project the A out, the pointer is here now. It's in the second position. That means we don't copy the whole thing, generate a new database, because the generation could be very big, very costly. We don't copy at all. We just insert a pointer. We just say, you said it projected. Now the position is 2. I just write down 2. That's it. This one may be very, very long. Okay, maybe your whole DNA sequence, 3 billion base pairs. We never copy this 3 billion base pair. We just shift our pointer from position 1 to position 2. We just write down 2. That's it. Okay. Then you say AB. If we got AB, you can see this is 1, 2, 3, 4. The next one is 4. We just write down 4. You can see the other guy did all the whole projection. We did not do any projection. We just register what is next pointer. That's it. Right? So, of course, if you say this guy shrink dramatically, originally you have 1 million, now you get 30. Of course, I want to copy it. But if it's 1 million, still close to 1 million, we don't copy it. We just shift our pointer. Okay. So that's a trick. That's why this Korean, National University of Seoul, and Seoul University, they read the first half of the paper, they start implementing it, they complain it's not efficient because they do the real projection, we do pseudo projection, right? So you probably can see. Of course, it's not always every time you do pseudo projection is a winner. It's only when you know your real projection get a lots of benefit because shrink your database so much, you do the real projection. Otherwise, you just shift your pointer, just register a pointer, you do pseudo. So that's the trick, and we did this, and it was so efficient. Actually, there are many, many people finally take this algorithm as a standard prefix. They call prefix. We call prefix span, and they take this algorithm as a real, frequent sequence mining as a standard. Now this one probably is the most popular. Because the other day I visited Purdue, there's a bioinformatics group. They discussed with me. They also just use this algorithm. Okay? They're working on the biology. So the simply says this algorithm becomes the most popularly used one. I think this one got several thousand citations. I mean, several thousand research papers really cite this paper as a starting point. So you actually can see that means if the suffix is largely repeating in the recursive projected database, you do not do physical copying of the suffix. You just use pointer onto that remaining part of the sequence. The pointer is just the offset of the suffix. So, but if this one is pretty small, you can put in the main memory easily. You can copy it. You can do physical projection. The suggestion basically is that you try to integrate the physical and the pseudo projection. When your pseudo projection is most beneficial, use pseudo. When the real projection, you shrink your data sets quite a lot, use a real projection. Okay? And then you probably can see, finally you will find it's pretty efficient algorithm. You may like to implement it. It's very easy to implement. You can see once you know. Then we get another trick. This closed path. Remember, we already said in the frequent pattern mining, sometimes if this part is so common, you don't want to repeat them, you just mine the closed path. The same thing happened in the sequential pattern mining. That means in many cases, many things are repeating why you have to find those sequences. For example, if people say, I first buy iPhone 3, and then I buy iPhone 4, and then buy iPhone 5 and 6 and 7, if this guy are the iPhone 5 fan, you just want to buy every sequence. You just group them together, say this is one sequence, that's it. Okay. You say these are the iPhone fan sequence. You don't have to get it, first 3, then 5, first 3, then 6, first 3, then 7. That repeating doesn't make sense, right? You just put them together as a bigger sequence, that's it. So we want to find closed sequential pattern. But the thing is, of course, you can say, I mine all the patterns. I find this part is closed. They have the same support. I just merge them. You get one. But the trick is, can you mine in a very big database? You mine these closed sequential pattern directly without even thinking about it. You mine all the patterns. Especially you think about it if you get a very long sequence. Actually, the subsequence is exponential. You try to mine all these subsequences, merge them, may not be very efficient. Suppose I still give you a length 100. How many subsequences is that? Exponential, right? If you try to mine close one, you may only find 1 or 2 patterns. But if you mine all the sequences and merge them, you first find an exponential number. Then you merge them, it's too late because your computer blow up already, right? So there must be some very efficient algorithm to directly mine these closed sequential patterns. That's the one actually was my PhD student. Here, he did a PhD on these the several things like a closed span. All these is one of the algorithms. When he graduated, he did a graph pattern mining. The graph pattern mining, when he graduated, you say graph pattern mining on Google. Even now, you still probably see it. Is when he graduated, I recommended to get a word. I say, you don't have to look at an argument. You just type graph pattern mining in Google. All the front pages, all these are his arguments, his publication. That's a convincing one. He basically took this word in Google, in the work. So now he's a full professor. And probably chair for professor in UC Santa Barbara already. His name is Xu Zhongyan. He's still very, very active. Okay. And he got a student. This year, his student took Ohio State assistant professor position and got a KDD 2016 dissertation award runner-up. So you can see this is really great. So we are going to discuss this next lecture. Thank you.